Hi, everybody. This is Carolina Millan, and welcome to another podcast episode of Beyond the Hustle. And today I am here with Gina Horkey. Hi, Gina. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
So, Gina specializes in helping entrepreneurs and individuals become or start a virtual assistant business, and also finding people who can help them outsource. I believe that's going to be very, very important for our listeners because as an entrepreneur, one of the first things I had to decide was I need help. I need people to help me. And on the other hand, when I started to become one of the main things I thought about was what can I offer? What service can I start offering people so that I start my business slowly? So, Gina, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your background, your story, and how you ended up doing what you do today?
I would love to. So I think that I fall into a pretty popular group of people that, was working full time and started a young family. And I was kind of unfulfilled when it came to the work that I was doing. I was actually in personal finance. I had my own small practice of clients, and then I supported a real small family run, but wildly successful financial planning office close to my home. So on paper, I had everything great, right? Like I earned a good living. I had negotiated a 4-day work week. My commute was less than 10 minutes each way. They treated me like family. And so that part was just wonderful. The downside is that I was looking at the next like 30 years of my life, and I was like, I can't hang on this long, right? I have to see if there's something else that I'm more passionate about, or kind of just move to a different level. And so I actually started by kind of reinvesting in that career and seeing, okay, what could I be doing differently in this environment to be happier and more fulfilled? And I think that was good, because if you don't start there, sometimes you're missing opportunities, right? And it was obviously familiar, and I didn't have to do a whole redo from a career standpoint. But I did finally give myself permission to like think about a career change in early 2014. And I started by reading books by John Acuff. Do Over is, I think, his most recent one. He has a book called Start. Really great entrepreneurial reading to kind of get your mindset right, as well as your motivation and figuring out what you want to be when you grow up. And so it was through that I unlocked, certain websites and blogs. And then all of a sudden I ran across freelance writing for the web. I didn't understand or know that it was like a thing that you could get paid to write, and it could be getting paid to write blog posts and articles, white papers, which I didn't do so much, putting together, things like PDFs for people's opt-ins on their website, email, newsletter copy, website copy. Like there's just this plethora of needs when it comes to content for businesses that want to have a presence online. And so that was my first foray into offering services. And I did that on the side of my full-time job. And I was actually nursing my second born at that time. So I had like a 1.5-year-old and like a 10-month-old. And you would find me in my basement with my laptop at 4:30 in the morning, working for an hour or two before I'd have to nurse the baby and get in the shower and get ready for my day job. And, that proved to be successful, though, because I was able to safely launch this side hustle, this side business, test the waters. Would I be successful at this? Earn some money, which was a clear indication that I was. And then I used that money to kind of set it aside for a runway, because I did ultimately want to change careers. And that allowed me to do so in kind of a less risky way. And so it was actually less than 8 months end to end of looking into online business and quitting my job. And I was the only breadwinner because my husband was a stay-at-home dad. So it was a pretty huge transformation for us, but that's over 5 years ago now, and I'm so glad I did it.
That's a lot of pressure. Taking care of the family and raising your kids and doing your day job and your side hustle.
And that might be kind of a more extreme example. We have students and people in our community that are just looking to pull in a couple extra $100 a month. So you don't need to replace, a 6-figure salary necessarily to want to get into becoming a virtual assistant. It really depends on kind of what your goals and needs are. Some people are like me, they're career changers, and they're kind of on that high achiever standpoint. So they want to see how far they can take things. And again, other people are looking to supplement their family's income or pay down some debt or just make their lives a little less stressful financially.
Exactly. So I think that's one of the myths from people that people believe when starting out, that they have to quit their job right away or replace their salary right away. So what would you say are the key indicators that you are on the right track when you're just starting?
Yeah. So if you do work full time or have certain responsibilities, it does depend really on your goals, but you have to figure out based on your schedule what you're able to allocate time wise to growing and starting a new business from scratch, right? So if you can find at least 5, but better off 10 hours per week that you could use to start something, awesome. And then, over time, if you are working full time, you'll just get to that max and you'll increase your rates so that you're getting kind of the top tier rates after you've gained your experience and all that good stuff. And that's one way, again, to kind of put some money aside for a nest egg to be able to make that transition. Because most of us, it's pretty hard to go from zero to replacing your salary and then be able to quit your job. It definitely can be done. And there's more ways than just offering services to monetize like an online platform, right? But it's also a very overwhelming goal to, think about pulling in $5,000 a month on 10 hours a week of extra time. And so for me, it was super helpful to break that down. And my first goal, honestly, was to land my first paying client. And I'm pretty sure that was writing a couple of articles as a ghostwriter about gluten-free couponing. Fun fact, I'm not gluten-free and was not in the past, and I'm not really a couponer. But one thing I do know about myself is I have the ability to research, I have decent writing skills, and I could figure it out. So if you have some belief, like, there's this path you want to take, and if services offering them is a good means to an end, like, you're able to figure things out, especially with all the resources we have online these days.
So you started your hustle by writing, like ghostwriting or guest writing. What are other services that you think people can offer easily that they often don't think about?
Yeah, so the second one that I moved into was doing email management and customer service on an online basis for some tech entrepreneurs, which was kind of interesting because I kind of fell into that space. And so my second gig as a writer was writing WordPress theme descriptions. I didn't know what a WordPress theme really was. I didn't even understand it, right? But again, one of those things you just kind of jump in and you figure things out. And completely different niche than gluten-free couponing. I didn't start writing about finance until I had left my job because of like a potential conflict of interest, although that ended up being my most lucrative niche to write in. But anyways, I came across an online entrepreneur that I had followed and noticed that he had trouble keeping up with his inbox, but it seemed like he really valued getting back to people and things like that. And so I just kind of sent him an email and explained that and said, hey, I'm raising my hand if you need somebody. And he thought that was a good idea. And we started with, I think, just an hourly rate, which eventually transitioned into more of a retainer model when we were able to figure out kind of what the work would entail. And that was showing up in his inbox 2 to 3 times per day, processing what was there, answering customer service inquiries, making sure he knew what things needed a response by him, but basically doing a lot of triage, right? Because inbox management is huge in customer service for entrepreneurs and small business owners because it's a time suck. It's other people are adding to-dos to your list by sending you emails. And obviously, if you're selling services yourself or products or whatever, like customer service is very important to maintain a healthy reputation and to be able to seize opportunities as well. For example, a lot of companies, if somebody cancels a subscription, they'll give them an offer for a downsell. And that's, an amazing way to retain customers. Or it's also a pre-sales environment where people are, asking you questions. And so you can actually make sales via email. So I think that's a really lucrative niche, and it's a pretty easy one for most people that, are decent at communication, understand how to be clear and yet succinct. So saying less or saying more with less words. And again, I just feel like it's a really high need for entrepreneurs out there, because if they can get taken out of their inbox, they're able to be more effective, not necessarily productive, because effectiveness and productiveness
Not
are
the
two
same.
different things, right? But they can do what they do best, which is typically top line revenue producing activities for their business. But we also have virtual assistants in our community that do everything from bookkeeping to graphic design to social media. And it's oftentimes best to be specialized when it comes to social media, because Pinterest and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube all work very differently.
Yeah.
And, then there's also, let me think, content creation. You could do things like managing an affiliate program. There's just so much that could be available to you. So a great thing to do to get started is to take an inventory of your own skills and interests of things that you'd like to learn. And you can get started on our homepage at horkeyhandbook.com. We have a list of 150 plus services that you can download, so that you can kind of get that mind mapping, brainstorming started.
Yeah, totally. And where do you usually suggest people go offer their services? Because from what you said, you were following an entrepreneur, you noticed they were having trouble, you reached out, which is awesome. Like being able to identify that somebody needs a skill that you may have, but I know, of course, freelancer portals that like the most popular ones, like Upwork.com. But what other suggestions do you have for people to land their first client?
Yeah, this is a huge topic in our flagship course, which is 30 days or less to virtual assistant success. So our goal is to really help people to build that foundation to launch a successful VA business. And most of our students land their first client before they're even completing the material, because we're really focused on taking action, and action that gets results. So there's a dozen or so different marketing efforts outlined there. Social media is probably one of the newer ones, but marketing in general hasn't changed a lot over the last 100 to 200 years. I think the most effective way to land clients is through building effective relationships with others. So it's that kind of networking concept that most people are not excited about, honestly, because it feels hard and it feels scary to talk about yourself and like sell somebody else on your business. But that's the wrong way of looking at it, in my opinion. I like to talk with like our community when they're looking to work with clients. Why can't you do something you like or love for people that you like or love working with, right?
Right.
Like that's where we're reinventing what having a job or having a career is. Because as an independent contractor, which is somebody that offers services out to clients as an entrepreneur themselves or a small business owner, that's your choice. So clients get to decide if they want to hire you, and you get to decide if you want to work with them. And that's the intention that I would build a business around, again, because it just makes work more enjoyable. And you don't have to offer things that you don't enjoy doing. You might first to get started and kind of dip your toes and things like that. There's no reason you can't pivot or specialize from there. So when you think about networking, you can think about all of your kind of human relations. When it comes to like always be marketing is one of the terms of endearment that I throw out there for our community as well. And so that's like the instance of responding to the webpreneur or whatever, the entrepreneur in that email. Like I sensed that he had that need and I was the person to do that. You can do that while you're perusing different social media groups. That could be on LinkedIn. It could be on Facebook. It could also be, scheduling some what I call informational interviews with people in your sphere of influence that either have their own small business or that are business minded and successful in corporate America type of business. It could be going to in-person or online events. And you really need to focus on engaging with that person and entering the conversation with an attitude of service rather than an attitude of, I need a client, I'm so urgent about this. And that's where you'll find it might be a little bit slower of a process, but it will pay off in spades, and it'll also help you to connect with referral partners. So maybe the person that you're talking to isn't your ideal customer, but then you might know of somebody that is.
How do you how do you scale? Like, because of course, when you are a one-person show, it can be a little bit challenging, but there's always like something, like there's always the next thing you can do. So when you were starting out, or maybe some of your clients are starting out and they start getting their first client or second client, what are your recommendations to scaling that up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that was actually the most recent online course that we added to our lineup, which is the virtual assistant agency course. I didn't run a virtual assistant agency myself, although I do run a team. I've got a dozen or so team members, and it's not a lot different. They're just working with me to build out Horkey Handbook and these other subsidiary brands that we have versus subcontracting out client work. And so I partnered with my really good friend Mallory on that. And she is successfully running a virtual assistant agency that she started just as, you know, a single virtual assistant herself. And there's some other considerations when it comes to legal and contracts and sharing and, you know, pricing and all of that we cover. But one of the benefits of running an agency is you can find other people that have different skill sets than you do. So you can offer more services to your current clients or land new ones that are looking for services that you don't currently offer. But basically think of it as going from yourself contracting directly with clients to being kind of the manager that maybe still does client work, but maintains the customer relationships, and having people underneath you that you train in a very specific format in order to conduct that business with the client or for the client. So you are going to be, you have your own like reputation on the line, right? So you want to make sure that you can trust the people underneath you and that you're able to communicate that transition potentially to the client that you already have, and that you're more managing people, but it's a way for you to sell more than just your own time and make a profit. A lot of newer virtual assistants are very open to taking you know, a lesser rate than you contract the client for in order to get that experience, and, you know, have reoccurring revenue coming in themselves.
Like that's probably something that scares people, I think, sometimes, because that means, oh, now I have to learn management skills, or I have to learn how to work with other people under me and stuff like that. Where a lot of the people that start as virtual assistants are, you know, have the employee mindset many times, not all of them. So how do you help people overcome that fear?
Yeah, so I think the way that we teach our students is very much about having ownership of being an entrepreneur, which is different than you might find out there in other programs, because you really can't have an employee mindset and be successful in building your own business and going out and contracting your own clients. So in order to become a successful student of ours, you have to want to some degree be an entrepreneur and have your own business. That would be like the pre-qualification. Because we're going to teach you how to go in and really take ownership over your role and the client relationship, which is so helpful on the client side. If you can go in, let's say your client isn't interested or doesn't have experience in managing people. Well, you can go in as a professional that you are and guide them in the process of working with you. You can guide them through creating SOPs, systematic operating procedures, right? Where you're in charge of that. They're going to give you the information in order to do a task, and you're going to take that information and turn it into that standard operating procedure. I think I said that the first time, but that's okay. And then you're leaving them with this amazing parting gift if you were to get promoted within their organization, or if you were to part ways for some reason. I'm all about like the value add and maintaining those relationships. Hopefully you can tell, because again, this is long term and this is real life, and it's that wonderful combination of work and passion and doing things that you like and love for people that you like and love. So for people that want to work for somebody else and aren't interested in becoming an entrepreneur, there is the option to become a virtual assistant for an agency. So you would not be doing your own like marketing to land clients. You might still be a small business owner and still be a subcontractor of that agency, but it's going to look a little different than you doing it all yourself. You're going under somebody else's system and processes and all that good stuff. Now, the benefit for the agency owner is that they're going to make a profit on the amount that they charge the client versus what they're paying you. And so the most lucrative way to operate your own virtual assistant business is by marketing directly with that client. So then, you know, the third level of that is to become the agency owner yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It all starts with offering one service to one person. So, you know, we make it more complicated than it has to be, I feel like, a lot of the time. And you just have to figure out, okay, what are the services that I can offer? I did this great live with one of our successful students. Her name is Haley Thomas. And she doesn't consider them her first clients, but her dad and her sister were kind of her first clients because she identified areas, they both were small business owners, that she could help them in, and she convinced them to pay her for those services, right? You don't have to start working for friends or family by any means, but it was a good way for her to kind of validate the concept. And she actually had read everything on our blog. She's very, very thorough. And she used the money that she earned from those first 2 engagements in order to invest in our program, and then was able to really take off from there. So it's exciting to watch stories like that.
Yeah, no, that's always cool to see. What are some of the challenges you have encountered since you started building your business?
As a solopreneur virtual assistant, or kind of the CEO position that I fill right now, or both?
Both, actually.
Okay. So I think in the beginning, it's just, maintaining a high level of positivity and motivation. So I feel like one of the things that I did very well that is repeatable by anybody that's tuning in would be, to treat your business and treat yourself like a client. So one of the ways that I did that really helped me to build what I have now is I would consistently post a blog post once a week. And that was a good way for me to practice the skill that I was marketing, which was writing. And it was a good way for me to start building an audience and communicating with people like me that ultimately are now my clients or my students. And I did that with pitching as well. And so we have a 90-day pitching challenge included in the course, because for a lot of people, they get really motivated about something and they'll send out, let's say, 10 pitches in a week, and then they expect immediate results from that. And then, don't do anything again and wonder why they don't have any clients. Well, it's a little more involved than that. And so if you're able to consistently work on marketing your business every day, whether that's finding people to kind of cold pitch online, whether it's being active in a few groups, whether it's doing that in-person networking, whatever the case may be, and you do that continuously, week in, week out, you make sure to process follow-ups. And we have pitching templates for all this stuff as well to make it as turnkey and easy as for people as possible. But that's how you're going to get results long-term. So I would say that that's a challenge for many people early on. It was a challenge for myself, but I was able to get results because of just being consistent. And then, the other thing on that is don't keep doing things that aren't working. So if you have a 3 or 6 month, investment in doing things a certain way and you're not getting results, then you need to probably start doing something else a little earlier. Maybe you won't give up on your initial strategy, but if you start doing something else with half of that time, then you might see results there and be able to double down on it in the future. I think the biggest challenge that would probably go from the beginning to right now is burnout for many entrepreneurs, because there's a lot of opportunity that exists online, and it's really exciting. It's super fast paced and it's constantly changing. And I think in our minds, at least in my mind, which tends to be a little type A perfectionistic, you want to get your to-do list done and then, come up with some ideas and then get it done again. And that's not how it works. Your to-do list is always this like revolving evergreen thing. And if it's empty, your business is not thriving. So for wanting to have all the things crossed off, while that makes sense to us, it's actually not a good thing.
Probably not.
Yeah. And then it goes back to, have you heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
I have, but I don't know it in detail. So if you want to explain.
Sure. So it's that urgent versus important matrix. So if you think about a line here and a line here, here are the things that are urgent and important. Here are the things that are urgent and not important. These things are important, but not urgent. And these things aren't urgent or important.
Oh, I actually, Tony Robbins teaches that, but he didn't call it that when I learned it. So yeah.
Like Eisenhower is the former president. I should know these things. I
don't know. I'm not from there, so I don't know.
Yeah. So we're gonna skip ahead. No, but I believe that's the first person that came out with the concept, and people have probably tailored it to their own tribe and stuff in the future. But when I've looked it up for who to give attrition or attribution to, it was Eisenhower. So the things that are in that fourth one that they're not urgent and they're not important, you should cross off of your list. Because obviously they're not things that are ever going to get done. If they're not important, then no big deal. The things that are not important but seem urgent, you need to analyze those as well, because what if they're not important to the growth or sustainability of your business, but they feel really urgent, they're probably going to take up headspace and emotional energy. And you have to question why. So maybe they need to get morphed into a different category, and there's really not that spot for them. The things that are urgent and important are probably your top line tasks. So these are the things that need to get done yesterday or this week or whatever, and they're very important to your business. And the area of opportunity for most people's business are the things that are important but not urgent.
Yeah.
A new virtual assistant, prospecting would be in that area, right? Mm-hmm. It's urgent kind of, because you need clients to make money, but it's something that people put off because they can always do it tomorrow, kind of thing. So I would go through that on a regular basis. The other thing, my kind of pseudo business partner, so he's not technically an owner of the company, but he's my right-hand man. His name is Darren. So we went through Q2, so Q2 numbers yesterday for revenue, expenses, kind of profit and loss type things. And I think this is super important to do sooner than later with a new business. So it's measuring things on a quarter by quarter basis or every 3 months. And, it's your goal to figure out, okay, where's my income coming from? And there are some questions you can pose to yourself there. Do I enjoy working with these clients? Is there areas of opportunity for me to do more work with the clients that I'm currently servicing and enjoy? Should I be cutting clients? Do I need to raise my rates? And oftentimes raising your rates is easier with new clients that you take on versus asking current clients for a raise. Whole nother topic we could probably explore for a whole hour.
Yeah.
But then, so under the income, we've got all those questions. Under the expenses, which are typically pretty minimal for a solo practitioner, virtual assistant, it might include things like technology subscription. So like if you have a website you're hosting, maybe you're a part of a paid community like we offer, which is the VA Leads community. And it could be other like subscriptions, tools. You could be buying a new computer, a new phone, your internet would go under there, all of those types of things. And then as you build a more diversified business, so maybe you start as a solo practitioner kind of service oriented person, a virtual assistant, maybe you add in some affiliate marketing, or maybe you add in another monetization strategy that's not just services. And then you'll also find expenses associated with those income sources. And it's a good way to measure kind of, here's the output, here's the expenses, and here's the input, and what's most profitable in my business. And I think it's a pretty basic thing that people overcomplicate, but they also don't check in. And if you're not checking in on the health of your business, you're kind of winging it and just hoping for the best.
Yeah. And you cannot build a business based on hope, unfortunately. Hope is good to have, but you need a little more predictability than that. So what is your vision for the next few years? Where do you see yourself and your business going?
Oh, such a great question. So for those of you that don't know my entire backstory, I started, in personal finance. I was working full time. I started this virtual assistant business, and I quit my job and started offering services. And then I ended up, we do a little bit of affiliate marketing, but that wouldn't be our mainstream revenue. We definitely do a lot of teaching and mentorship and things like that. And when we're reviewing things, like we're on a pretty good growth projection. So I don't see that there's a lot of huge like changes or additions that are going to need to be made. It's more about tweaking and optimizing what we currently have. So our primary business is Horkey Handbook, and our goal has always been student success. So the first part of that is really teaching them how to start and grow a successful virtual assistant business. And then we added on this VA Leads community. It's included the first 3 months with an initial enrollment, but then after that, it's a quarterly payment. And there people that come and are looking for virtual assistants, that's where their job lead would go. So we're offering leads to the community. We do like weekly Q&A, office hours, live monthly training, that kind of stuff. And then we've actually developed some skill-specific courses with some of our most successful students. So that's been really fun for me because I've been able to partner up with these people that have opposing skill sets than I do. So things that I'm not an expert in, and be able to bring it to market for virtual assistants that are learning to learn new skills. And that also adds an additional revenue stream to their business, which is also fun because they're no longer trading time for pay. And that just fills my heart, right? And so if we can get people to learn what they need to know, successfully land and work with clients, start earning money, learn new skills, like to me, that's just like a win-win-win scenario. So we'll continue to do what we're doing that's working there and pivot when we need to. Then we also I partner with my friend Kristen on PinterestVA.com. So that's specific around starting a Pinterest virtual assistant business. And that's fun because we get to try out all the things that we've learned and that work over onto another brand, but it's very similar. And then I do have a website called Kids versus Bikini. And I started that one.
What's that mean?
So Kids versus Bikini, you can think of it as like moms that want to get back into like bikini body shape or whatever. And I did a bikini competition in May of 2018, so last year, and then I'm scheduled to do another one in October. And it's kind of just a niche site to try out something different. It's not currently monetized, although we do have it set up for growing an email list, and we're ranking for certain keywords in that kind of bikini competition niche. So that's just a fun exploration. But my goal with that one would be to monetize it sooner than later. And probably just do like a sub $50 product that's an info product on, preparing for your first competition or something like that. So, I mean, I'd like to continue to serve our main community, but then, explore and experiment, because why not?
Yeah.
How about you? What's your business look like in the next 5 years?
Good question. Well, I'm in not in the same space, but I also teach online marketing to entrepreneurs, and not oriented necessarily to virtual assistants. But I work with people. I show them how to leverage the power of advertising, sales funnels, marketing, turning their passion into an online business. So my goal is to hopefully get to more people, reach hundreds of people, thousands of people, with the message of designing your ideal life, basically.
Do you suggest specific tools to those people when it comes to like email service providers and landing page software and all of that good stuff?
I do, and I usually try to be an affiliate for everything that I recommend to my clients, because then it's a win-win. I recommend stuff that I use and that I'm an affiliate of. So for example, ClickFunnels for funnels, Get Responses, the main email marketing service that I use. So I recommend that. But of course, I always I always let people know, hey, there are more tools. This is what I use. This is my affiliate link. But hey, there are other options out there.
Right. But the nice thing, because a lot of clients are looking for help using these specific tools because they either don't have the time, the capacity, the interest in learning one of these, but they know it's important to their business. So learning one of the tools enables a virtual assistant to be able to go and learn other ones pretty easily. And so that's something that we talk a lot about. We don't typically train a lot on specific tools, at least a part of our core offering, because they change every other day.
Oh my God, yes. Especially Facebook ads is a nightmare to teach.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, I imagine. So if you ever wanted to come over to our community, you have a captive audience that would love to learn what ClickFunnels looks like on the back end, for example.
Oh, very cool. No, we should definitely discuss that. I'm sure there's a lot of leverage and partnering, collaborating opportunities here. So yeah. So I wanted to thank you so much for your time today. It was very valuable. I'm sure people got tons of value. So where can people find you? I know you mentioned the horkeyhandbook.com. We're going to put the link in the description. But where else can people find you, learn more about you, connect with you, ask you questions if they want to get started with this?
Yeah, that's the main place, because all of our social is connected with that. There's a contact page that you can reach out and ask questions. I would pose a challenge for anyone that, is listening today that really took the time to jot down notes. So if you didn't and you heard some things that you're like, oh, I want to remember that, maybe re-listen so that you can have a list of things to investigate. But go ahead and just email and say hi and let me know what was the most valuable part of the conversation if you don't have any questions. If you do have questions, it's a great place to be able to do that too. Myself, and then we have Davey in our customer service. So that's an area that you can offer as a virtual assistant. We get back to everybody and in a pretty timely manner. So feel free to reach out and let us know what your questions are. No pressure on enrolling in any of our stuff, but we are the go-to place, and I feel confident in saying that. And I enjoy just watching people to change their lives.
Nice. Are you on Instagram or Twitter?
I am on both. Instagram is not as active, although I'm learning how to use it. I know.
No, that's okay. So thank you so much once again, and thanks to everybody who joined us today. You'll find Gina's website here in the description of the episode, so you can go ahead, check out what she's doing. Seems pretty amazing. And Gina, thank you for your time. That was really valuable, and we should keep in touch.
That sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.